الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله ذي العزة والجبروت. الحمد لله ذي العزة والجبروت. الحمد لله حي قيوم لا ينام، عزيز لا يضام، قهار لا يرام. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. يقول الباري سبحانه وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and die not except on the state of Islam. For may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the most merciful bestow upon us the gift to die on the state of Islam. اللهم يا رب العالمين بعزتك وقدرتك نجي إخواننا في غزة يا أرحم الراحمين. O Allah, with your power and your might, help and save our people in Gaza يا رب العالمين يا كريم يا رحمن يا رحيم. أما بعد, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning of the Quran has described the believer with a specific description. The first description with which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the believer is al-imanu bil-ghaybi. So I said in this book is guidance for who? قال للمتقين, the pious. Who are the pious ones? قال الذين يؤمنون بالغيب, those who believe in the unseen. And one of the first action actually to implement the unseen in one's life is to stand in the prayer. يقيمون الصلاة الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة. Believing in the unseen and establishing the prayer. Therefore the establishment of the prayer is the first action to implement and to really manifest that into your life the meaning of believing in the unseen. Believing in Allah without seeing Him. Believing in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanding you without seeing anything like tangible. And for this reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the believer to truly be accepted with their salah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He gave the characteristic and the description of the believer in the beginning of Surah the believer, the mu'minun, قال الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون, those who have focus and devotion and concentration in their prayer. And this concentration only can happen if you truly have connection with Allah. And no one will be able to have connection with Allah if he does not have true belief in the unseen. The belief in the unseen is this profound, deep belief that you truly believe the existence of Allah. Beyond that, because the believer, they already believe that. But that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one who's managing all the affairs of the universe. For this reason, the belief in the unseen comes as the first characteristic of the believer. Require for the believer to look at their journey of life, according to the unseen, not according to the tangible and the physical world that you see. According to the unseen. And then to analyze and see and understand everything that's happening around us is according to the unseen. Because if you limit yourself at analyzing interpretation of what you see, it won't, subhanAllah, it's a fact that dissociates you actually from your own belief, despite the fact that we are claiming we are a believer. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال الذين يؤمنون بالغيب, they believe in the unseen. So our unseen is your guide, is your lens, it's your window, it's your gate toward seeing and understanding this world and everything that's happening into it. Because everything that you see in the physical world, behind it, what behind it? قدرة سبحان الله نافذة وحكمة مطلقة ومشيئة لا ترد. In everything that you see, behind it a power enabled, a power that is able, it has power over all things of Allah. Behind it the absolute will of Allah, upon which everything is governed. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. What it means, there's nothing can happen or move but by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Behind it, the absolute wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every event, everything you see, behind it, all these aspects of the Lordship of the Divine subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the believer, when they do not see, consider, think of things based on the unseen, they are dissociating themselves from the most important part of their existence and dissociating themselves from the partnership or like the friendship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which is mean like you are saying to Allah, like preferring for Allah to not be with you, to not give any other, maybe not fitted word when we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ما تكون في شأن وما تتلو منه من قرآن ولا تعملون من عمل إلا كنا عليكم شهودا إذ تفيضون فيه. Whatever you are engaging in, and while you recite the Quran, and whoever who get engaged in any action or any deed, but Allah is witnessing what you are doing. وما يعزب عنه من مثقال ذرة في الأرض ولا في السماء. And nothing can be hidden from Him. Even the atom, whatever it can be in the earth or whatever in the heaven, smaller or bigger than that, all of it is inscribed in the clear book. This is your Lord. This is Allah. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, the people who are neglectful or distracted from this reality, they really suffer a lot of suffering. They suffer because they do not have anything to rely on. They are suffering because they're dissociating themselves from the greatest power ever in the whole creation, who is the power of the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. For this reason, a believer, when he sees things with the unseen, the end of his and her action comes to one noble great action. And this noble great action not only is a weapon for the believer, not only it is a way for the believer to rejuvenate their iman, to increase their hope, to bring tranquility in their heart, to give them strength, to drive towards subhanAllah, striving more, fighting, standing for the good. And this action, had it not been the including of the belief in the unseen in your planning of your life, you would never be able to have it. So the people, subhanAllah, who dissociate themselves and they do act based on what they see. They believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they don't refer what Allah meant, what Allah is saying in what is happening. You see, subhanAllah, all what is happening, it's beyond, I don't think the word said is the proper word. It's unspeakable to say what is happening. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the one who decreed it. Allah decreed this. Allah knows about it. Allah is witnessing. And Allah is the most merciful. And Allah is the all-powerful. And Allah is the all-wise. And Allah is the all-seeing. And Allah is the all-hearing. La ilaha illallah. Therefore, is what happening is something that is so bad? Or should we follow what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you regard the unseen, do not consider it as evil. This is good for you. Say, Ya Allah, these people are dying. He said, I'm the most merciful. Where are they going? They're going to me. That's why I told you, do not say that they are dead. Do not utter it. It's forbidden to say it. وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ يُقْتَلُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٍ. Do not say it. بل أحياء, they're alive, but you cannot perceive it, you cannot sense it. Do we have the knowledge of the unseen? We do not have. That's why your knowledge of the unseen, you take it from Allah's word and the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. Then subhanAllah, you restructure the whole inner self. It becomes totally different. When you see something, you see it in totally different way, because what you see with the light of Allah, you don't see with the light of your knowledge and your senses. This great action, after you put your effort of what you can do to help, it comes to one great action called sabrun. Sabr, patience, perseverance. However, when we're talking about patience, many people, they think patience is negative. Patience reflects passivity, reflects someone, subhanAllah, unable to do anything, reflect maybe someone weakness, someone to run away. That's what we call patience. And that is the wrong concept that people they have. Who have this concept? The people who have the concept, those who limit themselves in initiating their action based on what they see. So for them to act, you have to move, you have to do something. And the problem was they do whatever they want. What they do, and it might be good, it might be good. Going on the media, going on the thing, talking, rallying, demonstrating, doing all of that. But the big problem is they think that they have done everything. No, you didn't do anything, because you didn't tackle the most important aspect, which is yourself. Yourself. Because when you go home, that's it. You resume your daily life without having nothing in your heart. Nothing in your heart. Why? Because you do not have that element of the unseen. It's not there. You're being neglectful. You're being heedless from this element of the unseen. Allah is talking to you, telling you this is how you need to see things. And we are totally, subhanAllah, absorbed in a secular mindset and seeing things we need to do, how people they do things. Yes, do it if it's really effective, productive. But before that, you forget something important about you. About you. Where's your sabr? So someone is saying, sabr is like passive, you don't do, like he says still. Actually, the Prophet ﷺ قال أفضل العبادة انتظار الفرج. The best of the worship while you are waiting for the relief and the help from Allah. قال أعظم الجزاء بأعظم البلاء. The greatest and tremendous reward from Allah comes with the most and the biggest or the tremendous calamities or trials. وَإِذَا أَحَبَّ اللَّهُ قَوْمًا. When Allah loves people, He inflicts on them tremendous trial. فَمَنْ رَضَى فَلَهُ الرِّضَى. Whoever is being contented and endure these tests, he will have the rida from Allah. He will have the pleasure of Allah. وَمَنْ سَخِطْ. The one who turned away, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turned away from him. Therefore, this sabr, this patience that we're talking about, the patience that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about it in the Quran, the patience and the perseverance that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam defined for us, is the patience that brings tranquility in your heart. A patience that boosts your drive toward racing for the good. A patience that makes you stronger. A patience that really feels submerged your soul with hope. A patience that makes you someone, a true believer, able and candidate and worthy to be someone true supporter and helper in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you say words the way that you want to say, and subhanAllah, without thinking truly into the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, said, what type of help are you presenting or doing? When you not have any connection with Allah and you're not considering what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you how to view these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, look, there's always two types of people. When Fir'aun, la'anahu he had been seen, he has been shown the great miracles of Musa alayhi salam. So his people, they came to him, they told him, قَالَ أَتَذَرُ مُوسَى وَقَوْمَهُ لِيُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَيَذَرَكَ وَآلِهَتَكَ. Are you going to let Moses and his people spreading mischief on the earth, and he turned away from you and declined your own gods? Out of anger. It was not the first anger that he had. He was killing the babies, which they doing the same today. Killing the babies because of someone who's going to raise from among the Bani Israel. No, this time it's because he's angry. He wants to retaliate. He wants to revenge. قَالَ سَنُقَتِّلُ أَبْنَاءَ. We're going to kill all their kids and leave their women alive. And they leave. We explained it before. So they will have, supply of slaves. That's what it's one of its meaning. قَالَ وَإِنَّا فَوْقَهُمْ قَاهِرُونَ. And above them, oppressing them, crushing them. This is exactly what you see today. The Quran, when you read the unseen, when you read the words of Allah, then you can see the true news. What Musa alayhi salam said to his people? قال استعينوا بالله واصبروا إن الأرض لله يورثها من يشاء من عباده. Seek help with Allah and be patient. So patience is not passive. Patience is active. Why? Because while you are waiting for the help of Allah, you're going to invest in the best action possible that you can do. And the best action possible is to change yourself, to cleanse your heart, to become true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And make an action that help you to elevate yourself and to gain the dignity of the honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow you to have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. So then, after this ayah, what some of his people they said, people are scary, they don't believe in Musa. Many of them, they didn't believe in Musa. Allah said it in the Quran. Those who were rebelling against Musa, they didn't believe. They're just following because of the convenience and because, being with their people. As today, exactly the same. قالوا أوذينا من قبل أن تأتينا ومن بعد ما جئتنا. We've been harmed, persecuted before you come to us and after you came to us. Which is mean, Musa, you are a prophet, you didn't help us at all. That's what the meaning, subhanAllah. So Musa said, Allah will destroy your enemy, but He will see and test you. How are you going to do when you're going to be having, the element or the empowerment on the earth? What are you going to do? Injustice? Or are you going to be just? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuing with this ayah said to His Prophet, قال واتبع ما أوحى إليك. Follow what Allah has revealed to you. واصبر. Have patience. Have patience. Till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring His hukm. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to determine His matter. Therefore, dear brother, respected sister, patience as a power for the believer to really redefine yourself, to make you stronger, to bring you tranquility, to give you the drive, while you are doing all what it's been possible for you to do. And that exact moment, what you are waiting for the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the greatest of worship. And that's the most important thing that the believer need to redefine his soul based on this element. Based on this element. You're going to help yourself not be scared. You're going to help yourself to review the whole thing that you see. You're going to see it from a positive point of view. And you're going to see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this is only the shaitan. The Satan, he's having his allies to cause fear into your heart. Do not fear them. Do not fear them. And fear me. Who has, subhanAllah, the power over all things is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why we are acting is like Allah is absent from this universe. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, what to do? قَالَ فَاصْبِرْ إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. فَاصْبِرْ, have patience. Indeed, the promise of Allah is the promise of the truth. Who's speaking? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَلَا يَسْتَخِفَنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُقِنُونَ. Do not be embarrassed or distracted or subhanAllah causing you to have doubt by those who do not have faith. Those who do not have certainty, even from your people, your own people. They say, well, they did this, why this, what is happening? Look, without getting into much detail, but this is subhanAllah, let us be close to the Quran. وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَنَّكَ. Fight into your heart to not have subhanAllah be deluded or to have subhanAllah doubt crawl into your system. Why? Because وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. وَعْدَ Allah, who's speaking? Is there, subhanAllah, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to break His promise? But if you say such a thing, you are not believing anymore. So why you are believer? Because I believe in Allah. You believe in Allah? You believe in the unseen? Allah told you His promise is the truth. Do you believe in that? Yes, I do. Maybe it's not settled in your heart. Ask Allah to help you to strive. That's the action of the sabr here. Help you to build those elements to help you strengthen that Iman, that believe and yaqeen that the promise of Allah is going to happen. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala فَاصْبِرْ إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. Another ayah. This one in Surah Al-Rum, the second ayah in Surah Ghafir. Have patience. Indeed, the promise of Allah is the promise of the truth. قَالَ وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّهِ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنبِهِ. Ask Allah forgiveness. You see, it's a process of cleansing. This is how you support. Cleanse yourself. Cleanse your heart. Cleanse yourself from sins. Run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with humility. Have to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept your repentance. Beg Him. قَالَ وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. And celebrate the praises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the morning, in the night, which is be steadfast on your prayer. The last ayah in Surah Ghafir, He said, or like the قَالَ فَاصْبِرْ, have patience. Indeed, the promise of Allah is the promise of the truth. فَإِمَّا نُرِيَنَّكَ. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have you, it's not your lifespan or within your lifespan that everything is going to be achieved. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wisdom, Allah's time is going to happen. But when we want to see it, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said to His Prophet, فَإِمَّا نُرِيَنَّكَ. Be patient. The promise of Allah is the promise of the truth. And we either will show you some of what we have promised to you that is going to happen to them, or will cause you to die. In either case, they're going to come back to us. And you're going to see how they're going to be humiliated in the day of judgment. That is the heart of the believer, how it built. For this reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He complimented the noblest believer, He said, مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, from among the believers, a body, رِجَال, قَالَ صَدَقُوا, they being truthful and true to the covenant that they have done with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. مِنْهُمْ مَنْ قَضَى نَحْبَهُ, some of them, they already passed away. What the rest are they doing? يَنْتَظِرُ, they are waiting. Therefore, the sabr is the foundation to help you have a serenity in your waiting, tranquility in your waiting of the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why are you doing all the good action? So the foundation, wherever you are at your work, and you're doing your work, you're doing your task with the best, way of righteousness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to be. But in the same time, you have that patience. In the same time, you're making dua. In the same time, your heart is beating with your brother and sister. That is the sidq. That's how to be truthful. That's how to be truthful. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر. Therefore, al-intidhar, this waiting for the relief, waiting for the help of Allah as is the ibadah. Allah gives us an example. The example of Nuh alayhi salam. He stayed among his people 950 years. After 950 years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, Ya Nuh, no one from your people will accept Islam. Therefore, desert them, turn away from them, and go and build the ark. So the thing is, after subhanAllah generation, he's insisting and calling. Suddenly he went to the desert, to no place, and he started to build the ark. He said, we told you he's insane. Yeah, this is the proof. So he said, if you mock us, we mock you as you mocking us. And you see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to decide for you. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent His order, everything, the whole earth becomes subhanAllah flooded. That's it. When it came, when Allah decided to come, it happened. Oh yeah, it did. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He said Surah Al-Qamar, it said it like it happened in a second, because Allah created time. Don't think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's going to be waiting. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His wisdom, He will implement and inflict and decide and judge whatever He will. قال كذبت قوم نوح عبدنا فقالوا مجنون وازدجر. They belied our servant Nuh, and they say he was insane. They say today they are terrorists. Some of them, they say animals. And even the fact, someone they were talking to a professor and a lecturer from this group of oppressors. They told them, what do you comment about they saying about Palestinians, they were animals? He said, actually disgracing the animals if you say they are animals. They said it. Was dujr, and he been repelled. This is what is going happening, subhanAllah. What they did for Nuh and his people, they doing the same. فَدَعَى رَبَّهُ, he called Allah. أَنِّي مَغْلُوبٌ فَانْتَصِرْ, I'm overpowered, Ya Allah. Ask for your help. فَفَتَحْنَا, we have opened the gates of the heaven with poured water and gashed the whole earth with the spring till the water comes at a level that has been already ordained. And then we saved Nuh on pieces of planks, attached it with nails. Not an ark. It's something that Allah made it to be a sabab, because it was sailing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protection. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and we made it to be an ayah. If there's anyone mindful, said, yeah Allah, we are mindful of what you say, because we believe in the unseen, we read your Quran, and we know your help is coming. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Qamar in 1 second that is going to happen, but it took years to happen. And that years, that when you're going to implement your sabr. Those years, that's when you're going to have the true sabr. Therefore here, dear brother, respected sister, if you do such a thing, you're going to be a truthful believer. If not, we are hypocrite. Because Allah said it in the Quran. There's only two groups of people. Either truthful or hypocrite. Hypocrite not in iman, no. Hypocrite in action, which is mean you didn't fulfill the covenant that you had signed with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when you accepted Islam, when you come to Islam, you have signed the contract with Allah. This contract, Allah purchased from you your life and your wealth in exchange that He will give you the Jannah. So you're going to strive with everything that you have. But if you didn't do it, then there is something held you back. Then you are not truthful. If you are not truthful, you are hypocrite. For this reason, Ibn Abi Mulaika, he said, I have seen, or subhanAllah, I have seen 30 of the companions, 30 of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. All of them, they were scared to be hypocrite. All of them. And none of them will say, I have the belief of Jibreel or I have the belief of Mikael. None of them. Therefore, dear brother, respected sister, if someone want to be someone who support, help, and candidate to be heard and helping in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to be sadiq, you have to be truthful with yourself and truthful with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Few elements help you to design this path for truthfulness. The first thing, your certainty that the promise of Allah is going to happen with no doubt. Second, when a calamity hit, it should increase your iman. That's a sign of sidq. When a calamity hit, it should increase your iman. As it did in Ghazwat al-Ahzab, when they saw the confident army, it increased their iman. Why? Because the more the difficulty is higher, the more the situation is suffocating and tight, the more the closer the help of Allah. قالوا هذا ما عاد. This is what Allah and His Messenger promised us. What promised you? For these people to come to exterminate you and burn you. He said, promise us when it comes to this point, He's going to help us. Increase their iman. And subhanAllah, in Ghazwat Uhud, there is no single home in Medina but they have a dead person. They were mourning a person. No single, like it happened today. There is no single place but they have a mourning person. In Medina at that day, when the Prophet ﷺ said, call back, come out to meet them. He said, only the people who went with me to teach us that your sabr and iman is the weapon. Some of the believers, they were leaning on their sword. They were wounded. Others, they being, subhanAllah, held and carried by their brother. How they cannot fight? When you have the people of Quraysh, the Confederate army led by Abi Sufyan at that time, how they gonna fight? And when they told them the people gather against you, what they said, it increased their iman. That is the sidq. That is your truthful, because you hold fast to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know that Allah, nothing can escape Him. Allah has control over all things. So whatever is going to happen to you, that is your mercy from Allah to you. It's either you die or you live, or whatever happened to you, if you are true believer. The second is the patience. After this increase of the iman comes the patience, and the patience is waiting for the help to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in serenity. I just summarized the rest in a few words. What is the path to really have this sidq, to be truthful? Dear brother, when you value and you hold with high esteem the honor and the dignity. If you do not value honor and dignity, we become hypocrite. Honor and dignity is the honor to love justice, the honor to establish justice, the honor to defend the weak, the honor to have the law of Allah and the deen of Allah to prevail, to be spread. The honor, that's the dignity. If we do not have that, then we cannot be truthful, and we cannot have in any way have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be in our side. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet ﷺ said, it's going to come a time that all the nations, they summon one another to come to attack you, as inviting people to a dish to eat. They said, are we going to be very few in number? He said, no, you're going to be in big number, but you're going to be like weak, like a foe. You don't have any strength. He said, how we get to that point? He said, because you love the worldly life and you hate death. And you see them, subhanAllah, everyone today hypocrite, or everyone who's turning a blind eye because they have that disease in their heart. Because they said, if we go to help, we're going to lose our power, we're going to lose our position, we're going to lose our money, then better not do it. He said, because you have been weakened into your heart, therefore you are not from those who believe. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about these people in Surah Al-Ahzab, أُولَٰئِكَ حَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُم. Those, they lost all their deeds. And they are not believers, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. And Allah knows only about these people. Therefore, the truthfulness comes by building in you the izzah. The izzah. When someone, subhanAllah, his land is being taken, he's going to stand till he'll die. Not like he will sell it and leave. The izzah to stand. The izzah is to fight. The izzah is to die on that land. The izzah is always to be holding fast on Allah, that His help is going to come. That's the izzah. If we do not have that, therefore we cannot be able to have sidq. We're going to be running from here and there, helping and calling and begging the people, the decision maker, stop, cease fire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's who have subhanAllah, had the power over all things. Did you call Him? Did you have this initiation of building the sidq? Because the path to dignity and honor is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, to fulfill the covenant between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is that Allah purchased your life. He told you, I have purchased, if you're a believer, and your wealth. In exchange, you have the Jannah, and He said, Allah will never break His promise. Therefore, you should be happy and rejoicing the fulfillment of this tremendous victory within yourself. And this tremendous success that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestow upon you when you be among the صادقين. فاجعلنا اللهم من الصادقين. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى أما بعد. The start is to look things based on the unseen. Allah started in the beginning of the Quran. So if you do not make the interpretation of what we see according to the unseen, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, then we are subhanAllah causing ourselves to be dissociated from Allah. And then when we ask Allah, Allah will not answer. قَالَ حَتَّى يَدْعُوا خِيَارَكُمْ فَلَا يُسْتَجَابُ لَهُمْ. The best among you making dua, Allah will not answer them. Why? Because we already dissociate ourselves from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dissociate ourselves. But if you look in the path of the unseen, then Allah give you patience. Allah give you perseverance. Allah grant you tranquility in your heart. Allah give you hope. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make you to have this drive to be like struggling and going, and always subhanAllah you're happy. Why? Because ahead you, who? Is not money. Ahead you is not death that you are scared. Ahead you is Allah. Isn't it the greatest thing in our existence is to see Allah? Therefore your travel when you have this drive is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I finish with this example. Musa alayhi salam, when he took his people, and Fir'aun and his army, they get to them. So when قال فلما تراءى الجمعان, when they seen each other, so they seeing all the army. Imagine subhanAllah, the army of Fir'aun, and these people, they don't have nothing, no weapon, nothing. As you see today. قالوا إنا لمدركون. That's it. We are cut. This is the end. This is our death. This is our subhanAllah end. So these people, they were looking at the situation in the tangible world, in the physical world. They see army, here are army. Nobody can doubt, this is army, this is bombs falling. But Musa alayhi salam said, no, we're not going to die. Nothing is going to happen. We're going to be saved. What he said? Nay, kalla, inna ma'i rabbi sayahdeen, inna ma'i rabbi sayahdeen. With me, my Lord is going to guide me. That's the power of believing in the unseen. You don't see anything, there is nothing. But you know Allah is watching you. Allah is with you. Allah is seeing you. Allah is the most merciful. Then He's going to have mercy on you. Whatever is going to happen, name it mercy. Why? Because it's from Allah. If you are a true believer. قَالَ كَلَّا إِنَّ مَعِيَ رَبِّ سَيْدِي. Allah, my Lord with me is going to guide you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right away, He revealed to Musa to hit subhanAllah with His staff the sea and departed in subhanAllah and opened a path. And subhanAllah is like a mountain of water. And you know the story. But look subhanAllah, it was a small stick that Musa used for his shepherd and just to lean on it. That stick destroyed the whole empire of Pharaoh. But by what? By the power of Allah. And you have embraced the power of Allah based on what you believe and how you behave, then Allah will do for you as He did for Musa. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instill in our heart the love of Allah, the trust in Allah, the reliance on Allah, and instill on our heart to see Allah is the most powerful, and to have in our heart, as in our action, the element and the fact and the real and the meaning of لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. اللهم انصر إخواننا في غزة. اللهم احفظهم بحفظك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم احفظهم بحفظك. اللهم دمر أعداءهم يا رب العالمين. واغفر لنا ذنوبنا وثبتنا على الصراط المستقيم واجعلنا من المناصرين الحق يا أرحم الراحمين. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأقم الصلاة يرحمكم الله.